Less than 1 hour ago in Rise of Kingdoms, Lilith sent out an official mail trying to explain what we can expect in the new equipment changes, because we know earlier this year Lilith sent out a mail saying that all equipment was going to be fairly useless, but they've kind of gone back on that decision and they've made a bunch of other changes. So in today's video, I'm going to simplify this mail, make it as easy to understand as possible, and I'm going to discuss what you have to do to prepare for the new equipment changes, because they're definitely going to be fairly large and impactful on the meta. So if you want to be ready for the new equipment changes and you just want to know what's going on in the game, you want to stick around till the end of the video. Now, let's just start off by reading the mail piece by piece and discussing it as it goes, because I think that's the best way to get a proper understanding of what Lilith is trying to say here. So the first thing Lilith started off with was saying, after talking with governors, they spoke about revising the equipment system and they've drafted a new plan. And this mail pretty much contains their new 6 steps to discussing what they're going to do with equipment. And the first thing they said is that after the next update, so this is probably within the next couple of weeks since we're ending November very soon, so probably within the next maximum 1 month, with the exception of gathering equipment and the Trial of Lost Kingdom weapon. If you don't know what that is, you get it at, I'm pretty sure, VIP 12 from the VIP chest. No, it might be VIP 15. I actually don't know which VIP Trial of Lost Kingdom is. There we go, VIP 16. It's one random legendary weapon you get if you buy the VIP 16 bundle, so everything besides gathering equipment and the Trial of Lost Kingdom will be affected by this update. They're saying weapons of all legendary quality can still be made iconic. So we're still going to be able to have iconic equipment that's still going to be a part of the game. I don't know why they really had to mention that. I mean, if we read the mail later on, it kind of explains it. But for now, we know equipment is going to still be iconic with the exception of gathering and Trial of the Lost Kingdom. They then said after that iconic equipment will then be divided into 5 upgradable tiers. All current iconic equipment, so what's currently in the game, will be iconic tier 1. So what we can pull away from this is that all legendary pieces of equipment besides gathering and Trial of the Lost Kingdom will be getting 5 different tiers. And the first tier we can guarantee is giving it an iconic crystal. If you iconic the equipment, it just gets the first tier. So that's a really, really simple just beginning thing. Whenever you iconic equipment, you get 1 out of 5 tiers. And presumably now, we're going to notice equipment is going to be upgradable. So there's going to be tier 1 to tier 5. And as we go on, I'm sure we can expect to get more stats. Now, we don't know currently if it's going to be base stats or just literal stats. And if it's base stats, that could be pretty interesting. We don't really see many base stats. But if it is later on just literally percentage stats, then it's basically just a blatant upgrade to the equipment system. So currently, we know all legendary equipment can be iconic, and iconicking an equipment will put it at tier 1 out of 5. The next point is Lilith discussing what's going to be needed to upgrade these equipment. So in point 2, Lilith said the items required to upgrade a piece of equipment to the next iconic tier will depend on its type and which tier it is being upgraded to. Upgrading to an iconic 1 will mainly cost iconic crystals, mainly I'm presuming the other thing being gold here, so we know that getting an iconic on anything costs an iconic crystal and a gold. And then they said while subsequent tiers, so tier 2 to 5, will cost mainly equipment blueprints and equipment materials. So we can just literally infer from the first thing that iconic tier 1, like we said before, is just going to be iconic crystals and gold. I don't think they'll change that. And then after that, we're going to need equipment blueprints and equipment materials. So I'm presuming that the further you get into the tiers, the higher the requirements may be. So for example, maybe the first tier of an upgrade to an equipment might be the same price as refining the equipment, if not even cheaper, because I think that would make sense. For a first tier upgrade, it should be fairly cheap, fairly high value for the most part after the iconic tier. So I wouldn't be too surprised, a small amount of gold and then some amount of materials. I don't think there will be any blueprints in the earlier tiers. It would be much too expensive then. And then even into the second and third tiers, maybe even the fourth tiers, we can really only expect to see mainly materials, maybe even up to a full forge cost to upgrade that piece of equipment. So possibly for the fourth tier, for example, it might cost around 60 materials to upgrade a pair of just pants or leggings. And then for the fifth tier, I think is where Lilith will bring in that blueprint cost. Because if that blueprint cost is on like the first 3 to 5 tiers, so let's say tier 3, 4, and 5, all blueprint costs, it costs you like 70,000 gems just to upgrade one piece of equipment to max. And I don't think Lilith is that insane. I think that these upgrades will be fairly simple in the most part. Tier 1 we know is going to be iconic crystals. Tier 2 to 4 will probably just be materials and gold. Maybe there's an extra iconic crystal thrown in there, but I doubt it because iconic crystals are very rare and very expensive. And then for tier 5, I think it's going to be a large amount of materials and another blueprint to unlock that final tier. And I think there will be either a very large amount of stats on the tier 5, or there will be some extra bonus to the equipment, whether it be unlocking a different stat or adding a special bonus to it, maybe extra damage factor. Maybe it's something like an inscription on an armament. We could be seeing stuff like that with a tier 5 piece of equipment, and I wouldn't be too surprised if that was the case. I also wouldn't be too surprised if Lilith adds other ways to get materials quite effectively, because if materials are going to be really expensive to get equipment up there, they want players who are newer to the game to be able to experience it. So I doubt Lilith is going to leave people with just the blacksmith. I think they may add something slightly extra, maybe a few events every now and again, to try and allow newer players especially to adjust to this whole new equipment system, because they're the players that will probably be affected the most by this. Because us endgame players, we have equipment already, we're just going to be able to upgrade it, but people who don't even have it unlocked have a long way to go to reach that tier 5 status. The next point here, so point number 3, says after a piece of equipment is upgraded to the next iconic tier, so let's say tier 1 to tier 2, it will inherit its previous refinement level and special talent. It would also gain a bonus to its attributes, so that is something to be expected. We thought Lilith was going to give some sort of a bonus to each piece of gear, and I'm also happy to see that they are going to be keeping your refinement level and your special talents, and they're not going to go to waste, because that was probably one of the bigger complaints. A lot of people were saying we've grinded out full sets of equipment worth thousands of dollars to get literal special talents on them, and if new equipment came in, that'd pretty much be a waste. So it's good to know that they're going to be keeping these special talents on the equipment as you go up the tiers. And to be honest, I think that special talented equipment will make tier bonuses slightly better. Maybe it's an extra 1 to 2% stats, but even then that's going to make a difference across all your pieces if they're all talented. So I can say pretty confidently that as the tiers move up, as you gain more stats, like they literally said, you will probably be able to gain even more stats if you've got a talent on that piece of equipment. Also, good thing they keep refinement level. If refinement level reset, that would be really stupid, but they're not doing that, so that's all good. So they're going to keep refinement level and special talents, and I think special talents will be affecting the equipment as it really moves down into the higher tiers. The next point here, number 4, is worded extremely weirdly, but what I can tell from here, it says equipment set effects will not be affected when upgrading one of the constituent, I know what the word means, I don't know how to say it, pieces to a new iconic tier. So what we can see pretty clearly here is that just one piece to a new iconic tier will not buff the equipment set effect. So for example, if I've got a full Dragon Breath set like I do on my Henry currently, let's say I just took the chestplate to iconic tier 2. That means that my set effect will not be affected at all. They won't get any bonus stats, there won't be any percentage increase, nothing will change. But they didn't say that if I get 2 pieces to level 2, it may change something. So what we could expect is that, let's say I got my Dragon Breath chestplate and my Dragon Breath boots, just as an example, to tier 2, I may actually get like a 2-piece set bonus that is actually improved because of that higher tier equipment. And I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case, because Lilith obviously wants people to invest in these gear sets that are actually like full set bonuses. And the reason they want you to do that is because those gear sets often cost actual gems, while the other ones that aren't set bonuses, like let's say Shadow Legion or Hope Cloak, are all really just available in the Crystal Key. So Lilith wants people to go for these equipment sets. So I wouldn't be surprised if as you go up in the tiers on multiple pieces of equipment, you may gain some set bonuses. And that means maybe a set will end up with 25 to 30% more stats than it would have before. And another thing that really interests me here is them saying that you won't gain any stat increases. And that could mean that these upgrades may be as simple as just increasing the percentage of stats you're getting, because it's saying equipment set effects will not be affected when upgrading one of the pieces to a new iconic tier, which means possibly there is a chance for these to be affected by some sort of a bonus. And I wouldn't be too surprised, like I said before, if Lilith did go through with that. The next point here says that your kingdom must be in Season 1 or later to access the iconic equipment system. I think this is still currently the case. I can literally just, I'm pretty sure, take a look here by going right there. Yes, no, you could actually get iconic crystals in Season 1. I did not know that, but if someone's saying that's wrong, then let me know. I just think that iconic is Season 2 and beyond. But If you migrate back to Season 2, you may have Iconics. I'm not too sure how it works there. I don't have Iconics currently on my Siege account. That's as much as I know, at least. So I think currently Iconics are only Season 2, 3, and Season of Conquest, but they may be available in Season 1. But we can tell really easily, you will only be able to get these iconic systems pretty much in Season 1. You can't get them earlier, you can't really buy them in that stage. It's really just you can get them in Season 1 and you can use them in Season 1. The final point here is pretty much discussing when they're going to release it. They said they're going to release the iconic equipment system to the game around mid-December. So like I guess probably around a month from now, a little bit less than a month from now if anything, maybe around less than a week. So I reckon December 15th, maybe even around Christmas. It depends if they take breaks during that time. We could see this new equipment system, and I think it would be in time for some holiday events, which will give players maybe some sort of a boost into the actual equipment system itself. Because I think if Lilith puts his equipment system in the game, they want to get people kind of like approving of it in some way. So I would expect some sort of just like a small boost into a direction. So maybe a few extra materials, maybe a way to get blueprints with some gems, but it's a pretty good value deal, or maybe some way to even buy these things from the shop. So I think that Lilith will add the equipment system into the game, give players a bunch of good value items so that we can kind of enjoy the system while it's actually a thing. So I think Lilith will definitely put these out around the season holidays, maybe a little bit before, just to give players that nice, maybe festive feel, give them those extra rewards to flow on into the system, make it less of a harsh transition. Because Lilith, I know they like to make money, but I don't think they want to just throw you in the deep end and then drown you there and be like, sucks to be you. Because even when the museum was released, for example, they gave us an event that kind of transitioned us into the museum. They allowed us to get a pretty much free relic with Ethelfled. They gave us a bunch of extra relic coins and exhibit coins. So I think that they're going to do the same here. There might be some small event that maybe only comes around once per kingdom cycle, like a whole kingdom's life. And they might just do that when the update comes out to give players that nice head start. So that wouldn't be too surprising. I think that's something they should do to make players understand the update more and give more clarity and even just some free rewards to it. Now, the final thing here says tap here for a partial preview of the new iconic equipment effects. I clicked on it, but I actually can't see anything. So I'm going to click on it. You can see right now it's actually loading up. There's nothing here. So maybe this is a glitch with the website right now. If you do the survey though, just like literally put in anything you want, you'll get 300 gems. But for now, I can't see what these equipment effects are. So I'm going to try to pull it up on another device if I can see if I can find it on Discord or something. But right now, I don't think you'll be able to see this. I'll try to get a picture though real quick. So now here is the official image from Lilith discussing the iconic effects and their upgrades. And everything inside the brackets is if it's special talented. Anything not inside the brackets is the non-special talented version. So here's what we can tell so far. Tier 1 is just a normal iconic effect for everything here. So everything here is just Tier 1 normal iconic effect. Tier 2, if it's a weapon, seems to be ignoring some form of enemy stats. So the Dragon Breath Bow ignoring 3% of enemy troop defense, the Sacred Dominion, which I'm pretty sure is the Cav weapon, will be ignoring 2.5% of enemy troop attack up to 3.5% if talented. So for every single weapon, it seems to be ignoring some form of stats. I think they will carry that on to the infantry and the other archer weapons and the other cav weapons. And then also the iconic tier for probably boots is going to be the same for everything. You get some base stats, you get some just normal attack. So you're just going to get normal attack here with Dragon Breath boots. Maybe infantry will get health, maybe calves will get defense. And then tier 3 for everything here, all equipment seems to be giving some form of extra unit capacity. And it seems to be on a weapon up to 1,000, 1,300 on Sacred Dominion. Don't forget Sacred Dominion is actually a KVK weapon. So it's going to probably have more stats for that reason and probably cost more because it is a KVK weapon. So everything here is going to get some form of unit capacity. And then the 4th tier seems to be that all weapons will get some all damage bonus. And then boots will get some form of march speed. So weapons get an all damage bonus on tier 4 from what we can see. And then boots, march speed bonus. And then tier 5, which I actually did call, and I didn't see this image before, I promise guys. It is one of the biggest things on the whole kit. Everything here seems to be minor improves. It's like maybe it's like having extra crystal tech pretty much when you're in the off season. And yes, it's going to make a difference. But honestly, it's not too major. A free-to-play player without tier 2, 3, and 4 is pretty well off. But if you don't have tier 5, then it's a pretty bad situation because tier 5 is pretty insane. When we look at this right here, 10% chance to gain up to 6.5% all damage bonus for 2 seconds when launching a basic attack. Cooldown 5 seconds. And this is not too insane. You look at this okay, it's not too bad. But honestly, that's a fairly large amount of all damage to be gaining. And yes, of course, it's just something that's not going to make a huge difference, but it could be the difference between winning and losing a fight. So this all damage bonus is actually pretty good, and it's the same on the KVK weapon, except the KVK weapon is 1.5% more on a non-talented and 2% more on a talented version. So every single weapon is going to get some form of all damage on the 5th skill. They're going to get some form of all damage on the 4th skill. Every single item, from what I can see, will get some form of unit capacity on the 3rd skill. They will all get or ignore some stats on the 2nd upgrade. And then on the 1st iconic, it's literally just the iconic stats. So now that we've seen a preview of the iconic system and what it's probably going to contain when the update comes out, what can people do to really prepare for the system? Because it's definitely going to be a big change in the game, but there's stuff you have to do to prepare. First thing I recommend for everybody, if you haven't been doing this, stop using iconic crystals. We don't know if they're going to be used in later tier upgrades, maybe even the tier 5, so I've stashed iconics for a while because I don't craft that much legendary equipment. So I just kind of have them available to me. So I've got like 7 crystals right now. But everybody, stop using iconic crystals. Next thing, save all your materials. I've been saving for a little while now as well. I don't plan to use any of my materials for quite a while. I'm entering KVK. I'm going to stash even more materials then. So don't use any materials. Save all your blueprints as well. Just stop crafting stuff, which I think is self-explanatory from don't use any materials. And the other thing, don't use any crystal keys, because we don't know how strong some of the crystal key equipment may become, since it's probably going to get upgrades as well. So save onto your crystal keys, don't use them, don't craft any materials, don't get any blueprints from events. We don't necessarily know which equipment sets may become much stronger than others, so for now, what we have to do is save all our materials, save all our blueprints, save all your iconic crystals, even maybe try stash up some gold, because I think the upgrades will take gold, and just stash everything equipment related, because we don't 100% know what the prices are going to be for these upgrades. Some of them could be really, really cheap, and then tier 5 could be really expensive. So overall, with the equipment system right now, we don't really know what the costs are going to be, but we've been given a rough idea of what the stats may entail, and I can say confidently, it's not something a lot of players should skip over, so that's why I'm saying everything should be stashed. In a nutshell, since we don't know what the cost will be, and this update looks like these stats will make a huge difference on the open field, we need to save our equipment, need to save our materials, and see how much it's going to really cost for these upgrades. How much will it cost to take an equipment piece to tier 5? Is it cheap? Is it very expensive? And until we know that, nothing should be used on your account. Just save up. Trust me, it's going to be the best move, and it's going to leave you in the best position. We also don't know if accessories will become something that will get upgrades. I think they would, because I mean they are basically the same thing as a normal piece of equipment. Only difference is they go in the accessories slot, but it may be too overpowered to upgrade accessories, so they may just ignore that. So for now, we don't know what's going to happen with accessories, but we know as a fact, normal equipment, pretty much every piece besides Siege Gear and the Lost Kingdom, Trial of Lost Kingdom weapon, is going to get an upgrade. So save your equipment, save your materials, save your blueprints, to best prepare for the newest update. Now, if you enjoyed today's video and you found it helpful in understanding the possibilities of what could be coming in the next equipment updates in Rise of Kingdoms, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, because I plan to push out all the information as it is released to us. So if you don't want to miss anything about the equipment update, you want to get all the leaks, all the news, everything Lilith tells us about, subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to be one of the best places to access all of this news before other players. So if you want to see all the news about the new equipment system, what you should be doing to prepare, and if you want to just know about what's happening in the game, subscribe to my channel. We're almost at like 3,200 subscribers already, so let's try get there within the next 2 weeks or something. So subscribe to the channel, it's much appreciated. To everybody who just subscribed, a humongous thank you, and to all the current subscribers, a massive thank you as well. Now I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.